Hi there, and welcome to this very special episode of No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode, I've been given an absolutely spectacular opportunity to try 5 Scotch Malt Whisky Society bottlings, 2 from the Spirit of Speyside Festival, and 3 from the 2018 Feis Ile Festival. They're a worldwide club, essentially, so anyone around the world can join. There's a fee to join, but what you get are monthly outturns of bottlings just like this. Now they go through a very specific selection process, so the samples are sent to a panel and that's different every time, and they're all blind and they choose whichever ones they like best that time. Then they buy those casks, so before that, no purchase. So you can almost guarantee you've got some excellent quality right from the start. And that's not to say you're going to like every bottle. Before I get into the actual things themselves, they have a kind of flavour profile map. I've got a kind of very detailed example here, but I'll give more details on that on a separate graphic, I think. But there's 12 specific kind of flavour profiles, and they start at kind of really light ones all the way to heavily peated and kind of everything in between. So that's your guide point about whether you might like something or not. On top of that, they give some kind of tasting notes, but some of them they're a bit extreme. But the thing I like about the Scotch Malt Whisky Society is they're having fun with it as well. It's they don't take themselves too seriously. There's a lot of in-depth tasting notes going on, but it's more of a bit of fun than kind of specifics. And these tasting notes are what give these bottlings their interesting kind of names. So they each have a different name as well as a number, which I'll go into in just a moment. Now they bottle these straight from the distillery. There's no filtration, there's no watering down, so these are all cask strength, 1 cask bottlings. And they could be from any kind of cask, and they do detail these. That's something that you do get with this, so you get actually more information than what the distillery would ordinarily give you. They tell you the specific age, the specific ABV of course, the region it comes from, and you get the kind of the barrel, the cask it came from, depending on the size, the first fill, refill, whatever. So as I said earlier, they have a numbering system. They don't actually announce what each of these things is. They say what region it is, but if it's Speyside, that's kind of, you know, a stab on the map. Islay a little bit easier, Campbelltown even easier, but they have a numbering system, and it isn't a complete secret. These numbering systems are online, and it starts something like this. So this one is a 9.143. The 9 relates to the distillery. So it's the 1 would be the first ever distillery they used, and the 9 is the 9th one. And this goes up and up and up, and they have it's not just Scotches, they have Japanese, they have bourbons, they have Irish, they have grains with a different numbering system. The bourbon has a different numbering system, but that's your guide. So if you've had 9 before and you want to try another 9, you can. The 143 in this particular code relates to the amount of times they've taken a cask from that distillery. So this particular bottling is the 143rd bottling from the 9th distillery. Now I'm not going to tell you what these things are. If you want to find out, you can Google it. There's a very easy website that lists them all. But for me, they taste them blind, and I think it's all part of the fun, not knowing where it's from, but knowing that somebody somewhere has said, this is really good, and I want you to try it like this. So that's how I'm going to go. Now what I have done is I've ordered them for my preferences. So I've put the 2 Speysides first, followed by the 3 peated Islas, and I've gone up in ABV because these are quite high, you know, these are cask strength stuff. So I've gone smaller to larger, then back down to peated and smaller to larger. Funny enough, this time around it worked out that it was age first, then lower, but that's just how it is. So let's stop messing around. I'm going to get into these drams now, and for a first time on this channel I'm going to be adding just a touch of water to each of these live on the camera. Now I've never tried any of these before. That's kind of the point. You're going to be getting live feedback to what I think of these. So let's crack on with the tasting. Okay, so first up, we have the 9.143. Now, as I said earlier, the first two are Speyside. So this is a Speyside. This particular one is a refill Hogshead Ex-Bourbon. It's 21 years of age, information on the bottle, and it's called Graceful Gravitas. Now, it's been given a sweet, fruity and mellow. Why not? 21 years, it's 23rd of April 1996. This was distilled, which is awesome. I love that. 60.6%, it's massive. I can smell it on the nose already. I get that, yeah, definitely light, fruity, mellow. For me, I can tell this is the Speyside. I know I've read that, so it seems like I can't, but it's got those kind of characteristic Speyside flavours. I'm gonna have a taste before I go into any notes, I think. Yeah. Oh, tons of sweetness. Massive amounts of pears, I think. A bit of chocolate, a bit of orange. Chocolate orange, maybe. Now, clearly this is very alcoholic, and as I said, I'm going to be doing these up in ABV, so that tells you everything you need to know. This one's 60.6. Next one, 65. Dead on, 65 dead on. Let's add a touch of water to this. I'm just going to free pour, because I don't know where I'm going with this, so we'll just add a little bit. I can see that. You won't be able to see this on the camera, but I can see that mixing. That's how thick and viscous we're talking here. I can actually see the separation in the liquid. That's absolutely incredible. I love it. Straight away, that's even more mellow now. I can pick up a lot more vanilla than I could before. Lots of caramels in it as well. It's difficult. It's one of those ones, because it's 21 years old, I would love to have spent more time with it to really pick it apart, but that's not the point of this video. This is an introduction, I think. Let's try with the water. Yeah, lots more of those flavours I was getting before. Oranges, citrusy, kind of chocolate, bitter chocolate on the back. Finish is absolutely massive. Absolutely superb. I mean, this is the trouble with these bottlings, is that I find myself kind of speechless about them because they're just so good. You want to sit there and really, really just chew on them. But, I mean, that's the first one as well. Okay, I'm going to have to move on because we've got a lot to get through. So let's put that back and drag the next one out. Dram number 2 is the 107.13, the 13th cask from 107 Distillery. And this is another Speyside, and this one's called Andalusian Gazpacho. Hopefully I said that right. But this has been given a spicy and dry, and this is a 9-year Speyside from a refill ex-Oloroso butt. 65%, so I'm expecting this to be an absolute monster. Let's go for a nose and see where we're at with it. So without knowing the distillery itself, I can't tell specifically what flavours I should be getting, but this has got that kind of sherry notes all over it. This is a 9-year, I think I said that. 26th of August 2008 it was distilled. I'm getting kind of nutty flavours. Dried fruits, a lot of dried fruits that you typically get with an Oloroso. Thankfully I'm not getting any sulphur on this at all. Real quality. Let's have a taste. Oh, yeah, there it is. An absolute monster. 65%, that's, whew, you know, that's getting on for kind of new make spirit level, so you can see how little that's lost in the 9 years, but how much colour it's gained from that refill Hogshead. Hogshead Oloroso butt. I'm gonna have to add some water to that because that's huge flavours going through that. I'm expecting this to be quite oily as well, so yeah, as that's mixing, you can see it again. It's just absolutely fabulous colour, fabulous colour. Yeah, more of those nuts are coming through now. Figs, I would say as well. It's almost got kind of a winey quality to it. It's one of those Christmassy smells, you know, a lot of that comes through, that kind of fruit cake, Christmas cake kind of thing. Let's try a little bit. That's really toned that down now, so we're getting, even just that splash of water, that's enough to bring the ABV down to a relevant level. And of course, the one thing I'm learning about water is not every whiskey takes water well. The more oilier it is, the better, because the water then breaks that oils down and releases extra flavours. If it's been through some heavy filtration and those oils are gone, water is only going to dilute it. It's not going to release any extra flavours. So check your whiskies. Single cask stuff is usually, you know, unchill filtered. Single cask stuff is usually great for water, I think. That's something I'm discovering. Now that I've put water in, I'm getting oranges again. Oranges and honey. Again, stunning. I would not have put money on that was a 9-year-old whiskey. They tell us these things, and if they didn't, I wouldn't have a clue. Wouldn't have a clue. That's really, really superb stuff. Okay, that's the Speysides out of the way. Now we're going to be talking about the Feis Ile 2018 specials. There's actually something like 10 bottlings the Scotch Malt Whisky Society is going to be releasing over that festival. I have 3 of them here today, and I'm not going to go through the rest of them, but there are going to be links below if you want to check out the specifics. And of course, if you want to join, feel free to have a look in the description. There's going to be a ton of information down there. Dram number 3 then, today. This is, I mean, just the colour on this thing already. We'll get into that in a second. So this is 3.307, the 3rd distillery that they picked on, and the 307th bottle. So these 3 are the Islay ones. So the first one and the last one actually are in the peated category. The next one is in the oily and coastal category. So if you know your Islay malts, you're already going to be narrowing that down, I think, on the flavour profiles. Because remember, these bottles they're not messed with at all. They come out of the casks as no filtration, no processing, nothing. If the guys at the Scotch Malt Whisky Society approve it, that's it. This is a Oloroso refill cask. You can tell by this colour. And we're talking something like 20 years. It's 20 years, yeah. This one is bottled at 55.9%. So we're taking a bit of a dip from the last 2, but starting again to build up to that high ABV. September 1997, this was distilled. And this one is called A Journey into Joy. So already I'm excited by this. Let's give it a try. Oh wow, it's, I mean, there's a touch of smoke and a touch of peat on it, but it's so subtle. It's so subtle. I'm picking up a whole load of sweetness, bit of spices, a whole load of nutty flavours. I wouldn't want to go into the specifics, but it's like a bowl of mixed nuts. Wow. Edging on nonsense, but it's there, I promise, I promise. Let's give it a taste. My days, that's love at first sight for me, that is. That's incredible. There's peat and there's smoke in it, but it's so, I mean, it's not as subtle as the nose, for sure. And if you're not a fan of any peat or smoke, then it's probably not for you, but it's so gentle. The 20 years have done something incredible to this thing, because it's It's incredibly warming. That high ABV is doing its job, but it's not overpowering with the peat at all. In fact, if anything, the ABV is holding those flavours back. So, I mean, I'm loving it already, so I'm loath to add a bit of water to it, but I'm going to. For you people, Roy especially, will be extremely happy about this. But this one, I think, just a little. Give that a mix. Let's see where we go. Well, that's bringing up a whole heap of new flavours for me. Saltiness, sea air. Now, I know the second one is the coastal one, but that's got some coast to it, definitely. Oh, okay, I'm going to try some. That's released just a little bit more peat, especially on the back end. It's not like one of those peated drams where when you swallow you get a waft of like ash. That happens a lot. You drink these things, they're warming, they taste nice, then you swallow them and then you're left with a mouthful of ashy flavours. It's not like that at all, but the peat does come out on the back end. It's just, oh, it's just stunning, well-rounded dram. The other two were good, but this is definitely my favourite so far. Oh, I'm going to have to come back and smell that later. Dram number 4, the 10.141. 10th distillery, 141st cask. This is a 12-year, and they call it Indulgence by the Sea. This is an oily and coastal flavour profile out of the 12. You can tell it's lighter already. It's got fewer years to it for sure. But this one comes in at 59.5%, and the 12 years means it was it was distilled in May 2005. Now this one and the next one, in fact, are refill ex-bourbon barrels, normal sized standard barrels. Let's go in for a nose. Okay. Wow, I mean for me, it's kind of fresh and fruity. Maybe it's because I've just had that kind of peaty experience with the last one, but I'm not getting that kind of peatiness on the nose. I guess that's why they don't call it peated and oily and coastal instead. For me, I'm getting those kind of orchard Speyside flavours, which is peculiar. I'm glad that I didn't do this completely blind, but if I had have done, I'm not sure I would have got where this came from. Let's try a little bit and see if we can unveil some more information. Wow, I mean, some spice came out of nowhere then. It was really warming, kind of light floral notes. Not sure about this kind of sea air thing. I thought I had more sea air on the last one, but I did add water to that to get it. But it's like super subtle. After this, I'm going to look up where all these came from, because my inquisitive nature makes me do such things, but there's just so much to it. It's almost like verging on nonsense now, but it's almost like an apple pie kind of smell. I'll have one more taste before I add some water. Bags of spices on that. Let's add some water. I think that this needs to be layers to be peeled away just a touch. Oh, might have gone too much there, we'll see. That's the problem with free pouring. Yeah, this one took a little bit less time to mix. That's already mixing nicely. Yeah, okay, there it is. There's all that kind of saltiness coming through. Well, I mean, for me, out of all the ones we've tried so far, and most of the things I try on the channel, in fact, that just makes me want to bury my nose in the glass even more. one of the notes that really made me laugh in this one was it's like being kissed by a mermaid. I'm not sure about that, but that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. The notes they come out with are kind of like a bit of fun. They know what they're saying. It's descriptive, but also pinch of salt. Bags of honey on that. You know what though? In a blind tasting, I wouldn't have put my finger on that being an Islay, not at all. There's some hints of smoke in there, but you know, any distillery can do that now if they want to. And as a traditional thing, I mean, I would imagine, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is probably something like a Booner or something like that, because it seems to be lightly peated, if peated at all. Last but not least, we have dram number 5. This is the last one of the day, but hopefully I've gone up in ABV, so we'll see. It's definitely the youngest one on the table at 8 years, but this is the 29.244. They call this the Weaving Wondrous Dreams. Sounds rather nice, and it's been put under the peated category. Very light at 8 years for sure. Distilled in January 2009. This is another ex-bourbon barrel. 62.2%. And when I'm smelling this, wow, it's got like fresh is the word I like to use a lot. It's in comparison to some stuff when you get like old and musty flavors, you're getting a lot of sherry, not necessarily fresh. This is kind of fresh in a kind of citrus way, not in a kind of cleaning product, but there's definitely some lemony flavors in there. A lot more of that vanilla from the bourbon barrels that the age is kind of hidden in the other ones. Oh, I just want to try it. It smells great. Oh, it's so sweet. Oh. And that peat waft at the end. It's exactly what I was talking about on the last dram. Hold it on the tongue, keep that sweetness there. When the tingling gets too much, give it a swallow, and that's when you get that waft of smoke. But it isn't ashy. I'll bet my hat this is Laphroaig. I'll bet it. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. It's the 29th iteration. It probably isn't Laphroaig then, but who knows? It's so indicative of their usual flavour. But it isn't ashy or medicinal, to be fair. A touch of it. But we're talking kind of an earthy sweetness. Okay, let's add a little bit of water and see where we're at. Just a touch, I feel. Just a touch. Give it a little swirl. Release all the wonderful flavours. Oh man. Oh, there's so much coming out of that now. Releasing all of that. It's so sweet. There's some chocolate notes even in there, I'm thinking now. Bags more of those vanillas. One last taste. Honestly, the amount of water I just added made it a normal tasting whiskey for me. Like, by normal I mean in terms of ABV kind of flavours. It's pushed it down enough so that you haven't got that zing. That's to say, it's still an exceptional whiskey. Loads more of them kind of seaweedy, salty notes. That's got to be a Laphroaig for me. I'm going to look up the codes after. I'm going to look up the codes. But that, I think, is the kind of main thing about it. Do you know what? That is really nice, but I don't think it's my favourite. I have to say, I'll put this back over here. I have to say, I think this one was. I'm going to try a little bit more of that straight after that one. Which a lot of people actually will think that's kind of strange, because this is an ex-sherry, but not a hint of sulphur on it. That's got flavours for days, that has. I can't possibly do that justice with a single sample and a single video. That would take hours and hours and hours to pick through that. Superb. If you liked what you saw today, you can check out the Scotch Malt Whisky Society on the links below. I'll put links to specifically these products. I'll put links to a joining link. They accept memberships from £65 and above, depending on what kind of package you're after. But if you want to get access to bottles like this, that's what you have to do. You have to become a member, you get the emails, you can buy the bottles, and you can buy, I think there's sometimes they're 50 quid, sometimes they're a bit more, depending on the age and the exclusivity and things like that. But what you're getting is always quality. I have yet to try a bad bottling from them, unless it's been a flavour profile that I don't particularly like, if that makes any sense to you whatsoever. So if you're not a fan of peated, you're probably not going to like the peated ones, but peat heads, you're going to love every single one of the peated ones they ever put out. I can almost guarantee it 95%, because there's going to be that small percentage that you don't like. But thanks for watching this very special Friday episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to watch more videos. I put out content just like this every Monday and Thursday, with the odd bonus one just like this. Thanks for watching.